that in an age of information, ignorance is a choice, and so many people, by gathering information, are becoming empowered, and they're making better choices for themselves. And not only is it happening in the UK, but it's happening all around the world. I started becoming fascinated with the idea that you can give someone a sugar pill, a saline injection, or perform some false surgery or treatment, and a certain percentage of those people will accept, believe, and surrender to the thought that they're getting the actual substance or treatment, and they begin to program their autonomic nervous system to make the exact pharmacy of chemicals equal to the substance that they think they're taking. So then it begs the question, is it the inert placebo that's doing the healing, or is it the body's innate capacity to heal by thought alone? Because that pill is a symbol of possibility. All it is a symbol. The doctor says, this is a great new drug that's going to help with depression, and the person begins to think about the idea that they could get better. They're selecting a new potential in the quantum field. And then all of a sudden, a certain percentage of those people will get enthusiastic and theos, filled with God, inspired, optimistic. They start changing their emotional state. They're combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion, and they're changing their state of being. And all of a sudden now, I began to realize, do you need the sugar pill? Do you need the saline injection? Or can you teach a person, instead of putting their faith and belief in something exogenous outside of them, that would do the healing, to change their state of being? Can they just select a new potential in the quantum field, instead of focusing on a known, focus on an unknown, and revisit that unknown every single day until it becomes a known? And all of a sudden, you'll see people's depression go away, their anxiety go away, and they're not using the placebo any longer. They're healing by changing their internal states. And the person doesn't need the exogenous or external substance. They can move into a state of being without it. So I thought, once I understood the mechanics of the placebo, I could teach this process even better, and in fact, you can. And placebos, just so you know, they range from working anywhere from 10% to 100%. Imagine that. So, in a depression study, as an example, 83% or 81% of the people in a depression study that are given a placebo heal as well as the people that are given the actual antidepressants. Now, there's brain scans to show changes in their brain before and after. It means then they're making their own pharmacy of antidepressants by thought alone. And it took them 6 weeks, 8 weeks of taking that placebo every single day. Now, this is an important point, because most people think, oh, I did the exercise or the meditation once and my conditions should go away. Well, even in the depression study, 6 to 8 weeks of taking a placebo. Every time they take the placebo, they remind themselves that they're going to get better. They change their emotional state. Sooner or later, that becomes their new state of being. May take people 6 to 8 weeks of doing the work every single day, where they start noticing significant changes in their health. So I'm a pragmatist, and if you're telling me something that's science-based, the question that I ask is, how am I going to apply this to my life? So as people begin to gather this information, I now know that every time we learn something new, we're making new connections in our brain. That's what learning is. If people can understand the understanding of the new sciences, quantum physics, neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, psychoneuroimmunology, the mind-body connection, epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibility. And if I can instruct them in a way that they begin to piece together the model, when I feel like we're at a certain point where the comprehension is right, if they can turn to the person next to them and explain it in the workshop. If they can't explain it, it's not wired in their brain. But if they can explain it, they're beginning to install the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for an experience. So then if I can set up the conditions in the environment and give them the proper instruction, and allow them to surrender enough into the present moment, a certain percentage of those people are going to get their behaviors to match their intentions. And when they do, they're going to experience something new. And the experience then is going to produce an emotion, and they're going to feel unlimited, and they're going to feel whole, they're going to feel invincible. The moment they feel that emotion, now they're teaching their body chemically to understand what their mind has intellectually understood. Now they're embodying the truth of that philosophy by initiating it, which means if you've done it once, you should be able to do it again. And if you can repeat the experience over and over again, you'll begin to neurochemically condition your mind and body to begin to work as one. When you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it as well as your mind, now you're mastering that philosophy, and now you're in a new state of being. But the evidence suggests that acute conditions, our medicine is so great for acute conditions. You break your arm, you have appendicitis, you're not going to go to an acupuncturist, you're going to get immediate care. Chronic conditions require a lifestyle change, which means you have to start making different choices. You got to start examining the way you live your life and the choices you make and the thoughts you think and how you manage your emotions. And so the beauty behind all of this is that just like an infection spreads amongst the community and creates disease, once people start breaking through and they wrap their mind around this, health and wellness can be as infectious as disease, and we're seeing it happen. God, after looking at so many brain scans, I can tell you that the moment you get beyond yourself, the moment you disconnect from your identity, you're not a male, you're not American, you're not an engineer, you're not a dad, you're not an athlete, you're not a name, you get beyond all of those things. That's the moment you begin to connect to a greater field of information. Now, once you're there, once you're nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere, and no time, you're pure consciousness. Now you're ready to connect to the unified field. And when you begin to pay attention to it, when you begin to stay present with it, when you begin to surrender to it, experience it moment after moment after moment, every time you interact with it and experience it, you're laying down circuitry in your brain. Why is that important? Because the next time you do it, you have the circuits in place to perceive more of it. And if you pay attention and you unfold deeper into it, you'll experience more of it, which means you'll lay down more circuits. And all of a sudden, as you begin to connect to the unified field, you're connecting to a field of information and energy. What's the relevance of that? Well, you start experiencing more wholeness and more oneness instead of separation, which is created by the hormones of stress. The more you live in stress, the more you become a materialist and you define reality with your senses, because it's important to define reality with your senses when you're in survival. Right. So the more you're living by your senses, the more you're believing you're an object in local space and time, and I'm an object in local space and time, and we have some things in common, so we're kind of connected, but God forbid you look differently, or I didn't know anything about you, I'd experience more separation. Well, the moment you get beyond all of that and you're connecting to a unifying field of interconnectedness that's governing everything material, you're going to start to feel the consciousness of everybody, of everyone, of everything, of everywhere, and every time.